Picture this. After a grueling day at work, you finally sink into the comfort of your bed, seeking solace and relaxation. You decide to scroll through social media, hoping to unwind by diving into the discussion about the latest episode of your favorite show, or for some reason, hopping on Stan Twitter. But before you know it, you're face to face with fan art of two men sloppily making out. If you spent any time at all on the internet in fandom spaces, you probably have had this exact experience multiple times, no matter what it is that you're into. Marvel superheroes, K-pop idols, polyamorous and in love, Formula 1 drivers, ooh boy, shipped. And if you accidentally leave a like on one of these posts, your For You page will be bombarded with recommendations of BL manhwa, gifs of male characters dramatically confessing their love for each other in the pouring rain, and explicit fan work. And in a fascinating twist, the majority of people that post this content and engage with it are women. My name is Juno, your local Mothman. Welcome to my channel where we discuss art, the internet, and how they make us feel. And in today's video, we'll be talking about yet another internet phenomena. A phenomena that is so controversial that it had multiple scientific papers written about it, ripped fandoms apart, and built completely new ones. I'm of course talking about the unique love that women seem to have for boys' love, also known as yaoi. I've seen multiple takes and videos discussing this phenomena, some more harsh in tone than others. But is it as simple as it seems? Is it just a perverted interest to these women? A wicked, unnatural, rotten hobby? Or is there something more to this? Why do women love yaoi? Thank you so much to my Patreons that make this channel possible. Fungus Finder, LEJBR, Super Orlok, Sashira, The Artistic Dragon, Artur Tchaikovsky, Smiley Face Upside Down Emoji, Look, Liz Lizard, The Julo, Candle, Hammer the Knot, Vanish, Nairbo, Smorgan, Borgan Dorgan, Yuki, and Tweak. Now, relax, subscribe if you want to, and in order to find the true answer to this question, we must first dig through the rotten landscape of social media and pick apart what is true and what is false.
But don't you detect an odor?
It must be the litter box.
Oh, apple trees and honey bees and so
Forms him in a flash into the mightiest of mortal beings, Captain Marvel.
Ultra Bright has more whitener than any leading toothpaste.
Freewheeling means you can get options like panel interiors, special paint, trick wheels, and more from your Ford dealer.
The families of these men asked Congress to halt all trade with the Soviet Union until the Soviet Union pressures Hanoi.
Taste as rich as it looks.
It tastes as rich as it looks.
Not since 1963, during the March on Washington, have we...
In fact, 1/4 of all Jefferson County first graders don't pass.
McGovern voted a straight Democratic ticket, so he thought he'd made a wise choice.
Jackson County Legislature meeting saying he's here because of the president's concern that aid must come quickly.
This will be a great victory, depending upon what we do with it.
It's the 1970s. President Nixon is hiring people to break into buildings. In a huge win for people terrible at maths, HP introduces the next handheld calculator. Elvis Presley is found dead in one of his mansions, and in the September 74th issue of the R-rated Star Trek zine group, Diane Merchant publishes a piece titled A Fragment Out of Time. It's a sweet little one-shot. The 500-word-long piece follows two male lovers on their nightly escapade, and although they are never given names, the descriptions, as well as the art made by Merchant, inform the reader that this story is in fact about Kirk and Spock, two characters whose undeniable chemistry on the show caused controversy, raised some eyebrows, and the interest of multiple female watchers. And with the zine entry, Diane unknowingly created the first ever officially published piece of slash fiction, making history as the first step that brought fandom and shipping from something underground to something much more mainstream. Since then, a lot has happened. The world order as we know it is bucking under its own weight, AI is taking over the job market, Katy Perry went to space, and over the past half a century, shipping grew into a fandom of its own. All the while in the East, especially Japan, female mangakas took over the industry and started publishing works for other women, many of which were shonenai, or yaoi, or BL. Long gone are the days of sending handwritten fanfics through post. Nowadays, there are cons just for selling and buying BL doujinshi. On AO3, the most popular fanfic website, all of the top pairings are MLM. Media from all around the world is getting mainstream attention, and all this content is written, promoted, and consumed mainly by women. Women for whom, out of all of the confusing terms I've been throwing around, there is one that perfectly fits. Fujoshi. If you've been on the internet at all during the past couple of months, you might have seen this music video pop up on your For You pages. The colorful visuals and addictive beats have captured the hearts of many and earned a place on multiple playlists, mine included. This incredible piece of music follows Miku, or the rotten girl, who is overwhelmed by shame, hiding away her perverted interest. A thin layer of sweat covers her body, her head swimming with barely contained desire as she breaks the one promise she made to herself. No more. She promised she shall never sin again, yet here she is, flipping pages of her brand new BL doujinshi. And I get Miku. I also love yaoi. I love Banana Fish and how it makes sure that you remember that your past doesn't define you. I adore the incredible world building of Heaven's Official Blessing. Artyoutuber is adorable. There are so many incredible BL stories like Kineporsche and how it places the two main characters in the middle of a mafia war while they try to fight the undeniable chemistry they have for each other. Or like Painter in the Night, where a nobleman kidnaps a painter and forces him to paint paintings of him against his will. Or like Dramatical Murder, where in order to get the main character to unleash his power, a love interest uses to get him to use it. Or like Killing Stalking, where Sang-woo loves Yoon-bum so much he breaks his ankles to ensure that he cannot get away. God, is that why Miku is so scared to admit that she indeed is a rotten woman? A fujoshi? Just a couple of years ago, Killing Stalking was one of, if not the most talked about piece of media. Filled with various kinds of violence, it follows the intense and disturbing relationship between two characters, Yoon-bum and Sang-woo. Yoon-bum is a troubled, emaciated young man who becomes infatuated with Sang-woo, a charismatic and seemingly perfect individual. However, as the story unfolds, it is revealed that Sang-woo has a dark side to him, a side that is usually tied up and gagged, safely locked up in a basement of his home. The narrative explores themes of obsession, trauma, and the complexities of their toxic relationship, leading to a gripping and often unsettling tale that challenges the boundaries of love and morality. And that's all good, if not for one small issue. The manhwa is tagged as BL. Even though Killing Stalking is first and foremost a horror manhwa, it's a psychological thriller about two very unstable and twisted people coming together and repeating cycles of abuse. The boys' love aspect of the story is minimal. There is no love to be found. The story is about the pitfalls of obsession. For what it is, Killing Stalking is excellent. It allows the characters to be complex and broken while not excusing their behaviors. However, the way many on the internet interact with this story would have you thinking that Killing Stalking is some kind of dark romance. A lot of fans seemingly romanticize the relationship between Bum and Sang-woo, and that's part of why the manhwa became so popular. And as you may expect, Killing Stalking was written by a woman. In many yaoi stories, themes of non-consensual relationships can appear quite often, and frequently they aren't treated with the respect they deserve. These plots can make it seem like these situations are normal or acceptable, even though they are not. With a simple look at any website that hosts such content, you can find thousands of mangas, manhwas, fanfics, etc. that have such themes. However, I find that frequently those works aren't even tagged act properly. Sometimes you'll go into a BL comic expecting a romance, but instead find a psychological horror. So why is it that women like this kind of content? Why do they create and consume it? The internet has been looking for the answer to this question for years now, leading to quite a lot of discourse. Yaoi corrupts. Yaoi has implications that is damaging to a psyche and hurting people. You can't say, let's forget it, when it can cause serious problems in society. But the thing is, bara is made by men for men, so the problematic stuff is more aligned with kink. Yaoi and BL are written by women for women, so it raises the notion that's how women view our relationship. Yaoi equals bad content made by cis-het women that features bara equals good content made by gays. A fujoshi is specifically a woman who projects yaoi dynamics on IRL people. I am a man. That's a straight woman who has a fetish for men. A homo. Fujoshis are violent and just as bad as TERFs when it comes to attacking identity. Being a trans man doesn't excuse you from being a fujoshi. Being a trans man doesn't exempt you from having to analyze and put a stop to your own fetishizing behavior. No fujoshi is a proper LGBT advocate. They are all straight women pretending to be bi. The idea that we should just let cishet women have a fetish for men at the off chance that they might be or trans is insanity. But is any of this true? Do women love yaoi because they have a fetish? Is the popularity of yaoi simply a result of a bunch of straight women that enjoy watching men get brutalized and mistreated while being homophobic in real life? No. When I was in middle school and still lived in my small mountain village in the Polish countryside, one of my favorite pastimes was reading. Every little moment of freedom I had, I would spend drowning myself in books and comics, escaping into these fantastical worlds, and that way getting to experience things I could never even dream of experiencing in real life. And one time, while browsing across the web, I stumbled across something. A story written about some of my favorite characters accessible to me for free. And so, I excitedly created an account on this weird orange app and started reading. I was fully engaged. The story was filled with twists and turns. It completely changed the context of the canon, and I was fully on board until I got to a certain point in the story and I realized the two characters were... Oh, the horror. I was shocked, disgusted even. How could anyone take something as pure as comic book heroes and twist them in order for them to become the evil homosexuals my family warned me about? But at that point, it was far too late for me. I became enthralled with the story and I had to read it to the end. Once I was done reading, I laid in my bed, unable to sleep because of how guilty I felt. I realized that I wanted to read more. The thrill of this forbidden romance awoke something in me and I was hooked. I wanted to learn more about this whole thing. Now, as a bi 20-something, I feel no shame in admitting that my first exposure to culture was through stocky fanfiction. And I know I'm not the only one. The internet has opened up a myriad of possibilities for people to find content that they would otherwise be sheltered from. Now, the reason I told you this anecdote is because I have a question. Was I, by reading and enjoying fanfiction, fetishizing men? Because as I've shown in the last part of this video, that seems to be the answer to the main question of this essay. Why do women like yaoi? They like it because they fetishize it. And because of that, before we dig through their rot, to get to the much more complex and layered truth, I want to investigate the perceptions of fujoshis. Before, when I mentioned killing stalking, I purposefully worded that part of the essay to capture how the internet reacted to the manhwa. Back in the day, the internet was flooded with accusations of romanticization and personal attacks against the author, Kugi, and anyone that admitted that they enjoy the comic. The internet condemned the author and criticized Fujoshis for enjoying a piece of media that reflected so poorly on the community. However, the outrage seemed to be a bit overblown. While some of the fans definitely didn't treat the story with the respect it deserved, for the most part, the mature audience for this BL had a very respectful and insightful conversation about the nature of obsession and abuse. And that was the intention of the author, as far as I know, at least. Here is a quote from her. I had only one worry, that is that of not falling into an easy romanticization of the dynamic victim/tormentor, as often happens in other works, from films to comics. Rationally, I did not realize it immediately, but unconsciously, this thought, I must not fall into that mistake, followed me from the early stages of creating Killing Stalking. But even if Killing Stalking was meant to just be a BL, and the author's intention was to sensationalize and romanticize the abusive relationship between U and O, such a choice would only reflect on Killing Stalking, not the genre as a whole. I find it really interesting how much discourse there always is about how BL or Yaoi is in some way impure, that the stories are just and problematic at that. There are entire sections of online communities that truly believe that Yaoi and BL reflect badly on people, that BL and those that consume it are inherently doing something wrong. I find it really interesting since straight romance doesn't need to be perfectly written, unproblematic, and pure in order to be seen as acceptable. No one is ripping hair out of their head over how 365 days will cause people to think that all straight romance looks like that, or writing essays on how 50 Shades of Grey is the reason why some French people dislike US Americans. The existence of poorly written, problematic straight romance isn't seen as an attack or commentary on heterosexual romance. It is taken as what it is, a poorly written, problematic piece of media that, while worth examining, isn't treated as the definitive piece of work that represents an entire community, and people that read those books aren't labeled as fetishizers. In her thesis titled Don't Feed the Fetishizers, Hailey Rose Coleman explains how this phenomena affects Yaoi and Yaoi fans. I believe when BL fans created this definition of the fetishizer, it was only with the intention to protect men and their relationships. It is possible that fans began to resent the origin of BL and felt that it was objectifying men, since BL does have content that is only and straight BL fans may have felt this focus sensationalized and relationships. As a way to combat this, they could have created this definition to combat the of relationships. In turn, however, by constantly policing what constitutes fetishizing, fans could inadvertently perpetuate the idea that and relationships are deviant. Although fans most likely were attempting to normalize relationships, policing fans' behaviors only seemed to sensationalize. This piece of research, as well as Neville's, I don't know. Girls Who Like Boys stand out as two papers that actually engage with the Fujoshis earnestly, without treating them as a freak show. A lot of the other articles and scientific papers are written in a way that almost feels sensationalized, as if even though these are meant to be an unbiased academic look at the subject matter, there is this silent accusation of perversion wavered against women that indulge in something as scandalous as boys love. This accusation is, interestingly enough, not thrown at men that enjoy Yuri or sapphic content. While the interest of men in love stories between women is seen as normal and only natural, a Fujoshi is seen as a twisted, wicked creature, a rotten woman. Researchers assume that when men are their behavior is viewed as normal, expected, and not a research topic. However, when women are they are presumed deviant and therefore a topic of research. Coleman continues on, pointing out how bizarre the treatment of female BL enjoyers is. Why exactly does enjoying intimate scenes in BL get a woman labeled as a fetishizer? BL was created by Japanese women who were tired of feeling taken advantage of and repressed by Japanese men in society. Given this origin of BL media, who determined that women enjoying BL for pleasure or expression was inappropriate? Japanese women who created and consumed BL manga were stigmatized as cross-voyeurs, and many implied that their were inappropriate because they were women. My study mirrors this finding and confirms that women who consume BL today are still stigmatized for enjoying anything related to whether it is peck on the lips or an X-rated scene. I believe that the main reason why fujoshis are automatically labeled as fetishizers is because their very existence triggers a negative response from a society that has been taught that A, female is inherently inappropriate, and B, that is inherently deviant. So despite the fact that worries about fetishism can and do come from a place of genuine care for men, in the end the attacks against fujoshis that come from the community are indistinguishable from the attacks from the less accepting outside world. Not to mention that around 55% of women that read BL are themselves, and that seemingly the majority of people that enjoy BL are bisexual. While unintentional, I believe that fans perpetuate the erasure of BL fans, the belief that women are inappropriate, and the assumption that is abnormal by engaging in fetishizer discourse. Coleman goes much more in depth about this in her thesis. Once again, the whole study will be linked down below. So, to sum it up, no, the reason why women love yaoi isn't simply because of a fetish. Are there some women that read BL because it is purely a fetish to them and they also express homophobic attitudes in real life? Yes, of course. But to boil down an entire community that enjoys a genre that spans across multiple forms of media, art, cultures, and has a vast and interesting history to a harmful proclivity is dishonest. So when we strip away the shame and dig through the rot of online reactionism, what are we left with? Why do women love yaoi? Ever since I first heard Confessions of a Rotten Girl, it quickly became one of my favorite songs to come out this year. It single-handedly revitalized my need to make this video. I had thought of diving deep into the murky waters of this controversial topic well before I even created my channel, and this over-the-top, hyper-pop Vocaloid song made me remember why. Miku shaking and crying and throwing up over yaoi is just incredible. To her, yaoi is a forbidden fruit, something so tempting yet frowned upon, something that will make people look down at her. This song already had me hooked, but when Miku bemoans, I was like, okay, it's time I actually make a video about yaoi. Saotone pokes fun at the shame Miku feels. It's ridiculous, the mental torment she puts herself through, rivaling the absurd punishments faced by Danganronpa killers. And that shame is absolutely unnecessary. There's nothing wrong with how attracted she is to the genre. The reasons why Miku and other women may be attracted to BL are both very simple and complex at the same time. The reason seems pretty obvious at first. To women that are into men, getting to see two attractive men together is hot. But I think that there is way more to this than just attraction. There is a certain rawness and vulnerability that comes with most BL works. The stories seem to capture passion and desire in a very unique way. Many yaoi love stories seem more potent and intense than what most straight romance can offer. And I think it all comes down to the fact that in BL, men get to be people. In hetero-romance stories, men are many things. Heroes that save the day while sacrificing themselves, role models, the breadwinners, the mysterious closed-off bad boys. The male love interests are often the picture-perfect images of traditional masculinity that men are supposed to aspire to become and women are meant to lust over. The focus on projecting this image of a perfect man often leads to characters that feel as if they're made of cardboard. Their motivations feel shallow, layers are non-existent, and their inner worlds seem empty. The societal expectations of this world burden even 2D men who don't get to express their feelings without the fear of being called weak or, God forbid, gay. But in BL, the two main characters are already in a relationship that defies gender and social norms. They no longer need to fight to upkeep the facade of strength. They already lost. No matter how hyper-masculine they may be, they will never be quote-unquote man enough. This opens up for a more honest portrayal of men in fiction, since the heavy shackles of expectations no longer bind them and now they get to just be themselves. They get to be vulnerable and expressive because they're already damned in the eyes of society. And women flock to such vulnerability. A man that is able to show affection to the people he cares about is incredibly attractive. There is a reason why in recent years there's been a rise in popularity for so-called soft boys, like Timothée Chalamet or the Park Jimin's of the world. Women are very much into the honesty and humanity that comes with being vulnerable. However, being vulnerable and honest isn't easy, especially when the world looks down on you for being that way. This is also a reason why BL shines so brightly. In most of these stories, the characters, despite the jeering crowds and disapproving families, choose themselves. In many BL storylines, the main point of tension lies in the characters going against the social norms. A prince who is already engaged to a noble woman, but he sneaks out at night to meet with his knight. The heir to a crime empire falling in love with the leader of a rival gang, and so on. Such stories of abandoning the confines of traditional values and doing what makes you happy can resonate with anyone. It's a story as old as time. But these themes of going against pressure from society have the chance to speak to young women especially. In the modern landscape, the pressures young women feel to fit in, to perform to this unimaginably high standard seem to only grow with time. On one side, women are meant to be fountains of unending youth, beauty, and virtue. Everyone's best friend, the kindest of lovers, the softest of mothers, always looking like a freshly bloomed flower, waving in the wind seductively, waiting to be picked. On the other, they are expected to proudly and loudly reject anything and everything that could make them seem weak. Women are meant to be insanely successful, powerful, and unbreakable, always remembering to girl boss their way to the top, always having to prove themselves, all while remembering to reapply their sunscreen every 2 hours. All of these frequently conflicting narratives about what women should do, what they need to do, what they're supposed to do, always fail to do one thing: let the women decide for themselves what walking this planet Earth as a woman means to them. BL storylines can feel inspiring and moving to a young woman just because of that. Seeing the male protagonist reject gender roles and societal expectations despite the horrific consequences that such a decision may carry. And Coleman's research proves this point. 2/3 of fans stated BL media enhanced their confidence. Many described themselves as either shy or unhappy before they were exposed to BL media. Once BL was introduced into their lives, they were able to find joy and confidence, connecting and identifying with the characters. Meanwhile, when one of the main characters is a woman, it forces the female consumers to face the unfair pressures head on. Frequently, the female love interests or main characters embody the most unrealistic beauty standards, and instead of being fully fleshed out characters, they are an outlet for what the author believes a woman should be. The amount of love stories where the female lead doesn't have a personality or goals outside of girl, and dating or getting together with a man is staggering. Without there being a main female character that often serves as a mirror for the audience, reflecting back some of the worst aspects of womanhood, women can just relax and enjoy their romance and the content. Ultimately, yaoi can be a way for women to enjoy romance without having to deal with the various societal expectations placed on relationships, women and men. The two BL leads get to just be people falling in love. Their relationship can be whatever they want it to be, because there isn't an expected power dynamic going into their relationship. No long-standing history of patriarchy and traditional gender roles to fill. Both partners get to be on equal standing ground. If one of the partners wants to be the caregiving one, they can be. If one of them wants to be the more dominant one, they can be. They get to decide right off the bat what they want to be without having to go against the grain. But not only the stories themselves can be captivating, the way they get told also can be. Many BL stories are beautifully written and often accompanied by gorgeous art or cinematography. And this may be a controversial take, but I truly do believe that if not for the amount of stigma that surrounds many more men would find enjoyment in stories, and that includes BL. While for a straight guy, the appeal of content would be slim, there are multiple stories that don't have that component at all and are just great stories within themselves. Stories that deserve to be listened to. In the closing chorus of Confessions of a Rotten Girl, the entire attitude of the song shifts. For the majority of the song, Miku was fighting with herself, begging for forgiveness, wishing to change her ways to avoid damnation, and then, this final chorus, she sings. "An honest sinner till I die, what's the harm if I don't mind? With a paddle that empowers me, I can live a sinful life." And this is a sentiment I want to leave you all with. Maybe not the paddle part, unless you're into that, then go ahead. But what I truly wish for you is that you can let yourself and others enjoy fiction without the shackles of shame. Stay vigilant. If you don't like someone's behavior, call them out. Be aware of how you act and how your actions may impact others, but always ask yourself, why is this certain thing or group of people judged so harshly and treated as shameful? I hope that this video helped to shine a light on why women love yaoi, but also helped you untangle some of your own hidden judgments. And hey, if you have a favorite BL you'd like to share, make sure to drop it in the comments down below. I personally recommend the Danmei Little Mushroom if you like to cry. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If you'd like to support me, please consider subscribing. My goal this year is to reach 40k. I don't know if it's possible, but I really want to try. A special thank you to my Patreons for always supporting me. Thank you to my friends, especially Henry Love, for editing this video for me. And thank you to all of you that reached out and left supportive messages when I burned out. I feel incredibly grateful to have you all. Once again, thank you so much. I will catch you next time. Bye bye!